Okay, thank you very much for inviting me to speak today. I'm particularly pleased to be speaking in 2008, because 2008 to me is the 100th anniversary of the beginning of the atoms economy that Chris was talking about in the last presentation. And why do I say that? Well, 1908, was the year in which a Model T Ford was launched, the first mass production car aimed at the middle classes. Any color, as long as it's black. Black, incidentally, not because that was the color that most consumers would prefer, but that was the paint that would dry the quickest on the production line. In the last 100 years, as Chris was saying, I think we've seen a revolution. Now you can buy any car, in any color, any size, any shape, to do what you want, fuel economy, not fuel economy, big, large, fast, slow, posh, not posh, or whatever. I think that's been a tremendous achievement. And the last century to me was really about that. Now, I know most of us in this room are probably bits people rather than atoms people, but I think we should pay homage to our forebears. I think they did a fantastic job. But what they've done is they've left us, the bits people, with a problem. And the problem is this. The consumer's choice has changed. From any color as long as it's black, one choice you can make. If you wanted a car, that was the car you got. To maybe 100 manufacturers, each producing 5 models, with maybe 4 engine sizes, 2 different fuel types, diesel or petrol, different feature sets, different fits, and maybe 30 different colors. So if you multiply that up, the consumer's gone from one choice to 500,000 choices. And the question is, what have we done in the last century to do something about that? Well, here are 2 adverts for cars. And as you can see on the left, this is an advert from 1910 for the Model T Ford. And what is it? It's a picture of a car, and it's a statement that it's for the young businessman. Here we have an advert from 2008 introducing Smart. What is it? It's a picture of a car with a little bit of a phraseology saying who it's for. It's a progressive lifestyle with great features for a smart generation. These adverts to me are identical. So although the consumer choice has changed from one choice to 500,000 choices, the way that we're helping that consumer make that choice hasn't changed at all. So what I want to do today is to talk about some of this and to see what we can do as bits people to really help the consumer make the choice, and therefore those of us who are in commerce help us sell more. And of course it doesn't just apply to cars. What about radio? What about television? What about movies? What about restaurants? What about holidays? What about beauty treatments? What about loans? Every day a consumer is faced with hundreds of choices, and the bits economy has made it even worse. How do we find the right videos on YouTube? How do we find the right music that we want to listen to, knowing that somewhere out there there's probably music that exactly suits our tastes? It seems to me this is a real problem that we've created for ourselves, a problem that we've got to try and overcome. Well, what I've been doing, and I'm a psychologist by training, is to try and understand exactly what a consumer goes through when he makes a choice. The first thing they've got to do as a consumer is to understand all the different choices that are available. What is it that I can choose from? Then what we've got to do is to understand the features of each choice. So each one of those choices, what features are there in that choice that tell us what it's going to do? Then what we've got to do is to convert those features into a product experience. What product experience will it give us? Will it give us something that we really enjoy? Will it give us what we're looking for? And finally, when we've done all that translation, we've got to identify which product experience is best for us. And then we've got to repeat that for the next purchase. So this is a real major problem. And to me, the people who are going to win out in this century, in the bit century, are the people who can actually solve that problem for the consumer. What I want to do is to tell you some of the ways that I think that we can do that. It really is a difficult process. For an individual consumer, it's just not possible to do this. Either they're left with regret, I've made a choice but I've made the wrong one, or more likely, in the worst case, they failed to make a choice at all. I know personally that I want to buy a new car, but I just cannot be bothered to go through all those different steps to pick the car that I want. So what do? I stick with my 8-year-old car. An economist would say the transaction cost has become too high. And what we have to do is to lower that transaction cost for the consumer. So although huge progress was made in the 20th century about sorting out production, you really can buy any color you like now. You can buy huge varieties of different things, whether they're made of atoms or whether they're made of bits. Little or no progress was made about sorting out demand. So the question is, how can we help sort out demand? Well, we believe there's only one way to resolve this problem, and that's by harnessing the collective intelligence of all consumers to assist in the purchase decision of one consumer. How can we use the consumers, the internet, the social networking ability of the internet to assist in purchase decisions for consumers? And if we can harness that, if we're successful in harnessing that, then what we can do is really help those consumers and actually increase their consumption. So what I want to do in this presentation is just to quickly run through the different ways that a website might actually help a consumer actually make these decisions. So first of all, how can we help identify the different choices available? How can we help consumers identify what features are associated with each choice? And then the more interesting ones, how can we understand what product experience that's going to give us, and then identify which is the perfect product experience for us? And if we can do that, we will get the consumer on our side. Well, let's just look at the first one. How can we help the consumer identify the choices available? Well, clearly, and Chris talked earlier about the internet having infinite shelf space that is free. Well, clearly that's a good thing. So if we look at Amazon, for example, they now have something like over 2 million books on their website, far more than an individual shop can be. So if you're looking for a particular book and you know what you're looking for, why not go to Amazon? Or to take a more controversial example, and I'd be interested in some debate in the Q&A about this, if you're trying to date, if you're trying to find your perfect partner, why go to a bar and hope that you're going to meet someone when if you go in the UK to Match.com, there are over 2.2 million members on that internet site? And it's interesting now that over the age of 35, more people in the UK, and I'm sorry it's a UK example, but more people in the UK are meeting on the internet than in any other way. So here's a service that we can provide to people that can really transform the way that things are being done. The next question, I went the other day, I wanted to buy some noise-cancelling headphones. So I thought, well, how can I actually do this? Well, I thought there are two places that I can look if I can get all the choices that are available. I can go to Amazon. I know that Amazon sells electronics. Or I could go to eBay and look on eBay. So I went to Amazon. And this was the kind of information that the manufacturers of the noise-cancelling headphones were providing to me. It's a product division. It was a Sennheiser PXE250. They were wired. They had audio. They were binaural. I don't even understand half these words. And yet they were asking me to make a decision about their product versus another product based on the product information that was there. I really, as a consumer, can't do that. I just haven't got the ability to translate that into, is that going to provide me with a good experience? So the next thing, and I think almost essential now, for any retail site on the internet, is to find some way of translating that into the product experience that I'm going to achieve. And the way that Amazon does it, of course, is through their user reviews. I understand they now have something like 18 million user reviews on the internet. So rather than reading that technical description of the headphones, I went to the user reviews. And here we have one. The one that influenced me the most, it says, when you're on a plane, the background noise isn't totally blocked out, but it is reduced a lot. When listening to music or a movie, you can keep the volume down so that after a few hours, you feel much more relaxed than you would if it was blasting up the volume to hear over the roar of the engines. Now, that's exactly what I wanted to know. I wanted some headphones to go on an aeroplane. Were they going to work? So I read that review, and I thought, yes, that is the one for me. I subsequently bought the headphones, and I've been very happy since. But the point is, I could not have made that decision if I hadn't seen the choices and I hadn't seen what people thought about it. Just providing the technical information about the product was not really enough to make me purchase. But once I could translate that technical information into some kind of user experience, I could say, that's a user experience that I'm looking for, therefore I'll buy the headphones. And it seems to me that if you're selling a product these days, it's absolutely critical that we actually understand what the experience is and tell the consumer what the experience they're going to get when they purchase that particular product. Ford was launched, the first mass production car aimed at the middle classes. Any color, as long as it's black. Black, incidentally, not because that was the color that most consumers would prefer, but that was the paint that would dry the quickest on the production line. In the last 100 years, as Chris was saying, I think we've seen a revolution. Now you can buy any car, in any color, any size, any shape, to do what you want, fuel economy, not fuel economy, big, large, fast, slow, posh, not posh, or whatever. I think that's been a tremendous achievement. And the last century to me was really, it's the 100th anniversary of the beginning of the atoms economy that Chris was talking about in the last presentation. And why do I say that? Well, 1908, was the year in which a Model T Ford. Okay, thank you very much for inviting me to speak today. I'm particularly pleased to be speaking in 2008, because 2008